Hi everybody, my name is Nick Justushin. I teach virtual production at Drexel University, and in this video we're going to take a look at how we can create our custom looping animation in Unreal 5 using Sequencer. So let's get started. I just want to get wiggling fingers here out of our Ybot character, so I'm just going to close that sequence and delete everything so that we can start this over from the beginning. I've got the Ybot character from Mixamo as well as this surprised animation also from Mixamo. So I'll select the Ybot, and I'll also right click and go to cinematics and create a new level sequence. And that's what we're going to be using to edit our animation. I'll just call this finger wiggle 01. And Control S just to save it and double click. And so now we've got our timeline open. Since the Ybot's selected, I can click plus track and activate a sequencer and add that Ybot into the sequence. And then in Ybot's animation track, I can go ahead and click the plus button and select surprised as the animation. So if we look at this animation playback as it is, it's pretty long, and Ybot has the hands lowered and then raises them, wiggles them, and then lowers them again. And this probably would loop on its own, but I just really want the finger wiggle portion of this. So what I'm going to do is figure out here where the finger wiggling begins, and it looks like it's right about here. So I'll go ahead and click and drag from the beginning of this block and bring the beginning up to my playhead, and that way it'll start now right there where the fingers are already up. Let's find the end of that wiggle, and it looks like that's just about here. And I'll do the same with the end now, is click the end of the block, drag it to the playhead, and now we've got just this portion of the animation. So now we just need to make this loop, and there's a couple issues that we'll need to address. If I copy and paste this block, so selected, Control C copy, move the playhead, Control V paste, and I just put them right up against each other, and we have a good bit of popping here. There's a little bit of popping with the fingers, and there's also, of course, this whole rocking back and forth thing that we need to address. So I'm just going to smooth this out first, and that's going to be done by just taking this second block and clicking and dragging so there's some overlap. Let's grab the ends of our timeline scroll bar just so we can expand this and see that there's our little crossfade there. So now at least we smoothly transition from one to the next. And now we need to create the loop though. And to do that, what I'm going to do is take this second block and split it in half. So I put the playhead about halfway through there, right click on that second block, and go to Edit and Split Section. So now I've got two different blocks, but the very end of this block should transition smoothly, completely into the beginning of this block because, well, they used to be the same thing. So I'm going to go and take this second segment and bring that to the beginning of my animation, and then take these two blocks and drag those over. And of course, we want a little bit of smooth transition here, so I just take this block and drag it over the first. And so now we smoothly transition between everything here. And finally, to set up our loop, I'll just move my playhead to the very last frame of animation and go down here in the lower left and use this button here to set the end of our playback range, and then use this button to make sure it's set to loop, and that would let us push play and see this looping. So we're pretty good now. The transitions are smooth, everything's working, except we still have this rocking that I want to get rid of. And this is where we can bake to the skeleton, bake to the FK rig, which is a automated rig that exists for any skeletal mesh. And that is essentially an animation track for every single joint in the animation. So if I go ahead and right click on Ybot, I can go to Edit with FK rig. So this is the forward kinematics rig. I'll just say create on that. And what's happened here now is we have an animation track for every joint in this character skeleton. And we can animate on that, or we can remove animation. Now, by adding a control rig into our sequence, we've activated animation mode automatically in Unreal Engine. So we have some extra controls here. But the main thing we want to use is the new anim outliner. And what I'm going to do is select all the joints that are the hips and up through the spine. Those are wiggling quite a bit. By selecting them here in the anim outliner, I can see them selected in our timeline, and each one of these tracks are now highlighted. And so I'm just going to drag and select all of the keyframes and hit delete to delete the keyframes from these joints. And that should get rid of most of our rocking. There we go. So we're no longer rocking back and forth. We've got our looping fingers animation. I can zoom into that, and I'm really happy. So that's how we can use the sequencer functions of the forward kinematics rig, as well as being able to slice up different animation blocks to create a perfectly looping animation. Hope this helps. Until next time, have fun.